Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Just a reminder, the shampoo will be on sale starting tomorrow from the 6th through the 10th. Get it for 25% off. I have all of the details in the community tab on my YouTube page. So just go over to the community tab. You'll see the links, you'll see the promo codes there. So remember, from the 6th to the 10th, 25% off of the shampoo. All right. Now we are going to talk about Spain. Donald Trump has been frantically calling people that used to be allies and pretty much groveling and begging for help now. I guess he thought he was never going to have to do that, but he does. And I don't believe he's happy with the responses that he's getting. And he keeps saying, I'm not happy with Spain. I'm not happy with Spain. Why? Because somebody was big enough to say no to you? Hey, they have the right to say no. That is their military base, that their country built, and they have the right to say no. The bottom line is you should not have taken the U.S. into a war. That is way more problematic than Spain saying no to you. I'm just saying. All right, y'all. Let me share my screen. Yep. All right, here we go. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
The Prime Minister of Spain has spoken, and they said that you can be against oppressive regime and against the unilateral, unjustified, dangerous military intervention that is against international law that is waged by the United States. And then they said, by no means can the United States use any of their military bases to attack Iran. And on that note, I'm going to Chipotle.
Ooh, go grab your chai because I'm about to spill it. America just got told by Spain and they had to yella bye 15 planes out of there. Spanish Foreign Minister Jose Manuel Alvarez said that Spain would not allow its military, which is jointly operated by the US and Spain. I don't get how that works, but apparently that's a thing. But they're actually under Spanish sovereignty. He's not going to allow them to be used for attacks on Iran. And now maps by flight tracking website Flight Radar 24 have tracked that 15 American planes have had to leave Spain. They've gone yella bye over there. But guess where they've gone? So apparently 7 of them have landed in Germany, in Ramstein Air Base. So the Germans are like, yes, you may come here. That is good. Come. We will get those Muslimics. So that's what's going on in Spain. Spain actually has denounced the American and Israeli attacks on Iran. So the fact that they've yella bye these planes means a lot. Trump must have steam coming out of his ears. You know what? Actually, you know how I call him the orange blob? Apparently the Iranians just called him the orange pig, and I found that kind of funny too. So the orange blobby pig, I don't know. What do you reckon? Let me know in the comment section below.
So the U.S. asked Norway and Spain to accommodate their military because of the bombs of Baghdad that they started with Israel and Iran. So they're looking for some type of help for their soldiers to keep the military there, keep it safe. Granted, these are our kinfolk. These are kinfolk that they asking for help for. And Spain and Norway said, no, we don't agree with what y'all did. We will not be accommodating y'all. We will not be helping y'all. Our name is Bennett and we ain't in it. We don't want no parts of it. Now, a part of me should be upset because, again, the troops are our sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, auntie. I have a cousin that was actually not even too far away in Bahrain. So I should be very upset about this. However, I keep telling y'all to get up out this military because Trump don't care about y'all. He getting y'all in shit that y'all can't really back up like that. And now he asking, reaching out to other people that he have treated poorly and talked so much junk about. You reaching out to them, asking them for help, like they gonna help you after you done treated them wrong. I swear, y'all, this is crazy. He literally mistreated people and then gonna turn around and ask them for help as if they was gonna willingly help him. No, don't nobody want to help you. Granted, I'm pretty sure they probably feel bad for the citizens because we don't want to be a part of this. But I understand why they stand there on business, because you will not treat me any old kind of way and then turn around and ask me for help, especially when I don't support the BS that you're doing. No.
Spanish Prime Minister, we reject the unilateral military action by the US and Israel. That is quite a step from them, as opposed to what other European countries. The Spanish Prime Minister saying the attack on Iran represents an escalation and contributes to a more uncertain and hostile international order.
Spain just banned America from sending weapons to Israel, and this is a huge shift. Today, Spain officially announced that the US will no longer be allowed to transport military equipment to Israel through its military bases. That means American cargo planes, which regularly refuel in Spain on their way to the Middle East, will now have to find another route. And this isn't an isolated move. Just last week, Spain cut off all trade with Israel, even canceling a $1 billion weapons deal. They also recalled their ambassador to Israel, and they've even threatened to pull out of the World Cup simply because Israel is playing. So here's the real question. Is Spain setting the stage for Europe to distance itself from both Israel and America on this war, or is this just a symbolic move that Washington will find a way around?
Breaking news. Spain has barred the United States from using Spanish military bases for attacks on Iran, forcing US aircraft to leave the facilities in southern Spain. Spain's government emphasized that the bases remain under Spanish control and cannot be used for offensive operations without explicit approval and adherence to international law, including the United Nations Charter. Around 15 US planes, mostly refueling tankers, have been relocated to other European bases, including Germany. Spain Prime Minister said Spain would not support unilateral military action and stressed that the country's shared military facilities must operate within legal and diplomatic boundaries. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez condemned the weekend's US-Israel strikes on Iran, calling them dangerous escalations that threaten regional stability. Spain's position sets it apart from other European nations. The United Kingdom has reportedly allowed us use of British bases for similar operations, highlighting divisions among allies over the military response to Iran. Spanish officials stress that the decision is not a sign of support for Iran, but a measure to ensure military operations comply with legal and diplomatic rules.
Hey guys, we have some more news. U.S. military aircraft have left Spain after the Spanish government said that its bases cannot be used for attacks on Iran, and then ordered the United States military to leave. According to Reuters, Spanish officials confirmed that bases in Spain are not being used for the current U.S. operation. Spain's foreign minister said that the bases, and I quote, are not being used for this operation, end quote, and will not be used for any action that is not part of their agreement with the United States or in line with the United Nations Charter. So Spanish defense minister said that the aircrafts, including U.S. Air Force KC-135s, refueling tankers, had been stationed in Spain, but are now leaving. The KC-135 is a military plane used to refuel other aircraft in midair. It is a key part of long-distance air operations. So this move shows that some U.S. allies are setting limits on how their territory can be used as the war with Iran continues to grow. The United States has not announced any, change in its overall strategy. This is a developing situation. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments. My name is Jared Zisser. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Substack, and YouTube for breaking news, updates, and the full story.
Spain bans U.S. attacks on Iran from its air bases. No airbase granted to America.
I also secured commitments for virtually all NATO allies to increase their defense spending to 5% of GDP. Everybody but Spain. I don't know what's happening with Spain. Why would they not do that? They want a free ride, I guess, huh? Every country but Spain increased to 5%. I don't know why. We're going to have to talk.
Breaking news.
You know, Trump act like anything he requests should be granted. I'm glad Spain said no. I am. You know, I get sick of people like him. You know, everything got to be given to you or you're going to retaliate. And yes, he's talking about tariffs on them, putting sanctions on Spain and all this stuff. For what? If they don't want to get involved, because what they're really saying is they don't want Spain involved in this war. Whatever's going on, leave them out of it. That's what they're really saying. And Donald Trump is talking about, I don't know what their problem is. We may have to rethink what we're going to do with Spain. Why? Because they don't want to get involved in this meaningless war? But that's how he's talking. He wants to put sanctions on Spain because they said no. This man is petty. He is petty.
Spain bans the United States from using its bases to launch strikes against Iran.
Spain has barred the United States from using Spanish military bases for attacks on Iran, forcing U.S. aircraft to leave the facilities in southern Spain. Spain's government emphasized that the bases remain under Spanish control and cannot be used for offensive operations without explicit approval and adherence to international law, including the United Nations Charter. Around 15 U.S. planes, mostly refueling tankers, have been relocated to other European bases, including Germany. Spain Prime Minister said Spain would not support unilateral military action and stressed that the country's shared military facilities must operate within legal and diplomatic boundaries. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez condemned the weekend's U.S.-Israel strikes on Iran, calling them dangerous escalations that threaten regional stability. Spain's position sets it apart from other European nations. The United Kingdom has reportedly allowed U.S. use of British bases for similar operations, highlighting divisions among allies over the military response to Iran. Spanish officials stressed that the decision is not a sign of support for Iran, but a measure to ensure military operations comply with legal and diplomatic rules.
And yeah, and we already know Donald Trump don't like following rules. He think he can just do whatever he wants. And unfortunately, you got a Congress that makes him feel like he can do anything he wants. You know, you would think over what 200 plus people in Congress, and you got a bunch of senators and not and they all collectively are scared. And you're no good to the US. Why don't you all resign? For real. Why don't all of you just resign? So, you know, I'm just going to pray. I'm going to pray for our melanated family members that are over there, that they remain safe. And man, as for Donald Trump, man, we are looking at wickedness at its finest with these folks. They are something else. And you can't tell him nothing. You can't bomb people, kill their leader, and then turn around screaming ceasefire. That wouldn't even make common sense to a 5-year-old. But I guess he thought he was Donald Trump and he would be able to get that done. Now he's see, Iran, y'all, Iran is letting the US and Israel know they're in this for the long haul. Okay? They are in it for the long haul. And do not be surprised when summer and fall gets here and this thing is still going on. Do not be surprised. I think at this point, Iran will stop when they're ready, and they're not ready. They're not ready at all. And that's what they're pretty much letting Donald Trump know. Yeah, well, I also read, y'all, he thought this thing was going to go similar to Venezuela. And I was like, Venezuela and Iran are two totally different countries with different ideology. You know, Venezuela is what, mostly Catholic, and you got Iran and they're Muslim. What made you think they were going to be similar in taking down like Venezuela? Are you kidding me? Is this man really that stupid? You just got lucky with Venezuela. You know, unfortunately, these brown people love white. So they ain't going to go hard and attack white. But these Muslim nations, they're different. They will attack you. They will fight you. Okay, Afghanistan and Iran, that didn't tell you anything. Yeah, the Muslim nations will fight these white people. But these Latin man, I'm not shocked that he took Venezuela the way that he did. These people love white. So all you got to do is send some white soldiers in the land and they all become docile. They don't fight. You know, they don't fight at all. And you know, y'all, on Sunday, the US bombed Ecuador. They bombed Ecuador on Sunday too. You know, but because of Iran being in the news, it didn't make news in a big way. But the US also bombed Ecuador. You know, it is absolutely, this man, wow. You know, and I'm glad I'm seeing more and more videos of everybody saying MAGA need to get ready for war. Y'all need to be the ones fighting. You put Donald Trump in office, you men and women MAGAs, y'all need to get out on the battlefield. Don't be turning your head looking for other people to do it. You get out there. You get out there. You saw the lesson that the farmers had to learn. They got rid of they went and voted to get rid of the illegals. So they did on their farms. Now they sitting there crying because nobody's doing the work. Well, you get out there and do the work. You claim you do everything and got high IQs. So get on out there and do the work. Show us how the work is done when a high IQ person does it. No, you'll sit there and let the whole farm go to hell before you step out there and do that work. So get ready, pack up your bags. Trump MAGAs, pack your bags because he's going to need ground troops, and y'all should be the first ones out there. You should be. In fact, I'm going to start looking at the recruiting and see how many of you are signing up. Yeah, we'll see how many of you are really patriotic. Bunch of frauds. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I got one more live coming up where this brother uncovers information on how the US government back in 1962 was trying to use Africans to replace us because of the civil rights movement. They said Black Negroes were no longer governable. They couldn't, in other words, they couldn't control us. So they were ready to kick us to the curb and bring in a bunch of Africans to replace us. So as you can see, they've been trying to replace our group for decades. For decades, they've been trying to do it. And you notice one thing, y'all, they have failed. Even with the Africans in the land today, they are not comparable to us. In fact, there's no comparison at all. And many of them are just here to take. They are not contributors. So people that are not going to be contributors are not going to be good replacements, America. So we will talk about that a little more at 3:45. I hope to see you then. Shalom, family.